Allahu Akbar, dear friends. God is most glorious. Welcome to the Sunday morning devotional program sponsored by the Spiritual Assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb County and Sandy Springs, Georgia. So wonderful to have all of you with us today. Across the globe, the teachings of the Baha'i faith brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder, and whose name in Arabic means the glory of God. His teachings have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, which is a gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities, which allows us to reflect the image God made us in, the integration of worship and service with work performed in the spirit of service, actually being accounted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes, more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, and the dynamics of the relationships that strive to bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Friends, we've been having amazing programs each week, and today is no different. We're pleased to have you join us again. Welcome. We will begin with opening devotions, followed by, I'm going to discuss a musical presentation after the healing prayer. Elizabeth?
O my God, O my Lord, O my Master, I beg thee to forgive me for seeking any pleasure save thy love, or any comfort except thy nearness, or any delight besides thy good pleasure, or any existence other than communion with thee. Sabab.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Judy?
Lord, provide for the speedy growth of the tree of thy divine unity. Water it then, O Lord, with the flowing waters of thy good pleasure, and cause it before the revelations of thy divine assurance to yield such fruits as thou desirest for thy glorification and exaltation. Thy praise and thanksgiving, and to magnify thy name, to laud the oneness of thine essence, and to offer adoration unto thee, inasmuch as all this lieth within thy grasp, and in that of none other. Great is the blessedness of those whose blood thou hast chosen, wherewith to water the tree of thine affirmation, and thus to exalt thy holy and immutable word.
Thank you, Judy. Sherry?
Sure. هوالها پروردگارا مهربانا این جمع توجه به تو دارند مناجات به سوی تو نمایند در نهایت تضرع به ملکوت تو تبتل کنم و طلب عفو و غفران نمایم. خدایا این جمع را محترم کن، این نفوس را مقدس نما. انوار هدایت تابان کن، قلوب را منور فرما. نفوس را مستبشر کن، جمی را در ملکوت خود داخل فرما و بر جهان کامران نما. خدایا ما ذلیلیم، عزیز فرما، عاجزیم، قدرت عنایت فرما. فقیریم، از کنز ملکوت غنی نما، علیلیم، شفا عنایت کن. خدایا به رضای خود دلالت فرما و از شؤون نفس و هوا مقدس دار. خدایا ما را بر محبت خود ثابت نما و بر جمیع خلق مهربان فرما. موفق بر خدمت عالم انسانی کن، تا به جمیع بندگانت خدمت نما. جمیع خلقت را دوست داریم و به جمیع بشر مهربان باشیم. خدایا تویی مقتدر، تویی رحیم، تویی غفور و تویی بزرگوار.
Thank you, Sherry. Kathy?
My God, whom I worship and adore, I bear witness unto thy unity and thy oneness, and acknowledge thy gifts, both in the past and in the present. Thou art the all-bountiful, the overflowing showers of whose mercy have been rained down upon high and low alike, and the splendors of whose grace have been shed over both the obedient and the rebellious. O God of mercy, before whose door the quintessence of mercy hath bowed down, and round the sanctuary of whose cause loving kindness in its inmost spirit hath circled, we beseech thee, entreating thine ancient grace, and seeking thy present favor, that thou mayest have mercy upon all who are the manifestations of the world of being, and deny them not the outpourings of thy grace in thy days. All are but poor and needy, and thou verily art the all-possessing, the all-subduing, the all-powerful. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Kathy. Dorothy?
O thou loving provider, these souls have hearkened to the summons of the kingdom and have gazed upon the glory of the Son of Truth. They have risen upward to the refreshing skies of love. They are enamored of thy nature, and thy worship. Thy beauty, unto thee have they turned themselves, speaking together of thee, seeking out thy dwelling, and thirsting for the water brooks of thy heavenly realm. Thou art the giver, the bestower, the ever-loving. Abdul Baha.
Thank you, Dorothy. Elizabeth?
Consecrate thou, O my God, the whole of this tree unto him, that from it may be revealed all the fruits created by God within it, for him through whom God hath willed to reveal all that he pleaseth. By thy glory I have not wished that this tree should ever bear any branch, leaf, or fruit that would fail to bow down before him on the day of his revelation, or refuse to laud thee through him, as beseemeth the glory of his all-glorious revelation and the sublimity of his most sublime concealment. And shouldest thou behold, O my God, any branch, leaf, or fruit upon me that hath failed to bow down before him on the day of his revelation, cut it off, O my God, from that tree, for it is not of me, nor shall it return unto me. Bob.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Judy?
There lay concealed within the holy veil and prepared for the service of God a company of his chosen ones, who shall be manifested unto men, who shall aid his cause, who shall be afraid of no one. May the entire human race rise up and war against them. These are the ones who, before the gaze of the dwellers on earth and the denizens of heaven, shall arise and, shouting aloud, acclaim the name of the Almighty and summon the children of men to the path of God, the all-glorious, the all-praised. Walk thou in their way, and let no one dismay thee. Be of them whom the tumult of the world, however much it may agitate them in the path of their Creator, can never sadden, whose purpose the blame of the blamer will never defeat. Go forth with the tablet of God and his signs, and rejoin them that have believed in me, and announce unto them tidings of our most holy paradise.
Thank you, Judy. Kathy?
My object is none other than the betterment of the world and the tranquility of its peoples. The well-being of mankind, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. This unity can never be achieved so long as the counsels which the pen of the Most High hath revealed are suffered to pass unheeded. Through the power of the words he hath uttered, the whole of the human race can be illumined with the light of unity. And the remembrance of his name is able to set on fire the hearts of all men and burn away the veils that intervene between them and his glory. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Kathy. Dorothy?
Baha'u'llah has proclaimed the oneness of the world of humanity. He has caused various nations and divergent creeds to unite. He has declared that difference of race and color is like the variegated beauty of flowers in a garden. If you enter a garden, you will see yellow, white, blue, red flowers in profusion and beauty, each radiant within itself, and although different from the others, lending its own charm to them. Racial difference in the human kingdom is similar. If all the flowers in a garden were the same color, the effect would be monotonous and wearying to the eye. Therefore, Baha'u'llah hath said that the various races of humankind lend a composite harmony and beauty of color to the whole. Let it all associate, therefore, in the great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side, without discord or disagreement between them. Abdul Baha.
Thank you, Dorothy. Friends, it's time for the healing prayer. If any of you would like to remember a loved one through the prayer for healing, please feel free to call out their name at this time.
Elon Bowers,
Marilyn.
Zachary Simmons.
Josie Reynolds.
Jason.
Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise, Baha'u'llah. That was absolutely beautiful, depicting people from all over the world. That was just beautiful. The music and the pictures, all forms of dance and expression. Beautiful. Thank you, Barbara. Friends, every week we're blessed to have a guest presenter to come and share with us their insights on a particular topic. This week we're honored to have with us once again, Mr. Joel Smith. Joel, would you like to share a little bit about yourself before you start, what you would like the community to know about you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay, good. I'm still trying to figure out how to share screen with this, but I've been a Baha'i 50 years. I was led to the faith by a dream 50 years ago. And just looking at some of the, oh, hi, Sue. I've got friends here from literally all over the country. When we became Baha'is in Chicago, 50 years ago, we homefront pioneered to Wausau, Wisconsin. So you can see Sue and Jim Moser there. They both live up that way. Then we moved to Carbondale, Illinois. And oh, Judy Morgan too, she was up there in Wausau. Scott was in Carbondale, Illinois. That's the next place that we moved. I see Joe Pakowski. Hi, Joe. What country are you in?
I'm in Finland.
Finland. Okay, Joe's in Finland. He's the one that does all the amazing Baha'i art, the 9-pointed stars and this kind of stuff. So we've got people coming from Finland. Who else I got here? Two of my local community members, Donna and I'm blanking here, Elizabeth, sorry. Yeah, I've been a Baha'i 50 years. I wrote a webpage titled Prophecy-Fulfilled that's had literally millions of hits. It's about prophecies, the world's great religions. I've got about, I don't know, several hundred videos online. And locally, I teach religion classes through a continuing ed program. So that's kind of where I learned how to use Zoom. I'm still trying to get it to work right now because I've got a presentation I'm trying to bring up. And if I can, I'll just do it.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that about yourself. We're pleased to have you here with us. And I guess you're going to be speaking on the topic of Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Back in Jesus' day and in our time, race, class, caste, and Jewish society that Jesus addressed 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
But is paralleled in today's modern society.
Exactly.
So friends, please welcome Joel Smith.
Hello, hello, hello. So how many Baha'i centers are there in Atlanta? Hermione?
I'm Hermione and I'm in Michigan.
Hermione, okay. So she's at the South Side Atlanta Baha'i Center. And there are a couple more, aren't there? There's one downtown, literally around the corner from the Martin Luther King Center.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try just one more time to bring this up. It's asking me for it's not working. Anyway, I've got an iPad here with my presentations on them. As I said, I teach religion classes through a local continuing ed program. So I'll just have to do it without the video, I guess. So I started out teaching comparative religion. And so I covered all the world's religions, and I do that so I can mention Baha'u'llah and the Baha'i faith. I got a little bit more overt in the next class I taught. I taught the history of the Bible and who wrote it, where it came from, all the different versions, the variations. And then I thought, well, let's get a little bit more overt. I'm teaching these classes now by Zoom. So, I can have 25 students in my class. The last class I taught was Messianic Prophecies of the World Great Religions. And pretty much most of the class was about Baha'u'llah and how he fulfilled the Messianic prophecies. So this, I wish I could just hold it up, but so this presentation, of course, around the country right now, there is such racial hostility, racial conflict going on, and you know, people are, well, let's just say non-white people are being targeted around the country. The most recent one was the killing of the Asian women in the massage parlors, and that literally is probably less than 10 miles from my house where that happened. Of course, we have all the other problems with people of the Black race being harassed and murdered basically for no reason. And I don't know if the Native Americans are faring any better, but so what I wanted to talk about was the situation that existed in Israel 2,000 years ago when Jesus appeared. There was a subcaste, an underclass of people called the Ame Haaretz. See if I can just show this. I wish I could show this on the full screen. So the Ame Haaretz were were low-class Jews, and they were viewed as untouchable by the upper-class Jews. So the low-class Jews were called Ame Haaretz. The upper-class Jews were called the Kabarim. And it wasn't just like the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and these people. That entire class of people were the educated ones, and they were the ones that, because of the easier circumstances of their lives, were able to more adequately live up to the standards of the laws of Moses, the cleanliness laws, the dietary laws, these kind of things. The working class Jews, but they're primarily the working class, because of the difficult circumstances of their lives, were not able to live up to the cleanliness standards and the dietary standards of the upper class Jews. So to a great extent, the situation that existed 2,000 years ago is pretty much the same as it is now. You have the upper class wealthy and pretty much the majority of the lower class more not as wealthy. So the upper class Habarim, they're called. These were the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So among the pledges of the Habarim when joining their fellowship were vows never to be a guest of a low-class Jew. They're called Ame Haaretz. Literally means Eretz is land. Literally the friends of the land, or the people of the land. It's a derogatory term. The upper class Jews made a pledge never to entertain an Ame Haaretz in his home unless the unclean visitor leaves his cloak outside, because the cloak itself might be unclean. And this is, it was an insult, and it was intended to be an insult. The upper class Jews promised to, vowed never to travel in the company of an Ame Haaretz, never to sell an Ame Haaretz anything or buy from him anything that could be legally subject to impurity. And again, never perform purifications before praying in an Ame Haaretz presence. His very presence there would defile the prayer, make him unclean. One rabbi described the kind of girl a good Jew might marry, said, quote, "Let him not marry the daughters of the Ame Haaretz, for they are loathsome, and their children are abominations. And of them, the scriptures say, cursed is he who lies with any manner of animal." So the Ame Haaretz were literally viewed as animals, low class, just barely Jews. They were, of course, they were Jews, but they were just barely considered to be Jews. In the Talmud was written after the time of Jesus and after the time when the city of Jerusalem and the nation of Israel was destroyed by the Romans. So the Jews got together and started writing commentaries on the law. And I wish I could show it to you. It shows the actual page in the Talmud where it says these things, the things that I just quoted to you. One rabbi said that it is lawful to stab, and he said stab and not slaughter, to death an Ami Ha'eretz on the Day of Atonement. So on the Day of Atonement, you go to the temple, your sins are forgiven, and it says that if you stab one of these low-class Jews on the way to temple to have your sins forgiven, it's a good thing because you're ridding the community of vermin, and and then you go to the temple and have your sins forgiven. So in the actual Talmud, where it says this, it says, Rabbi Eliezer said, it is permitted to stab an Ami Ha'eretz, an ignoramus, to death on Yom Kippur that occurs on Shabbat. His students said to him, Master, at least say that it is permitted to slaughter him. And the master said to them, I intentionally use the word stab, as this term slaughtering requires a blessing. When one slaughters an animal, and that term stabbing does not require a blessing in any context. So the upper class Jews felt that it was okay to kill a low class Jew, and he wouldn't even have to say a prayer over him like he would over a goat. And I'm gonna, so the Habarim, this is the upper class Jews, believed that they themselves were the last hope of Israel, and that if they only lived good enough lives, then God would reward them by sending them the Messiah. And this is what the Apostle Paul wrote in Ephesians 2. He says, it is by grace that you have been saved through faith, and that it's not from yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that none can boast. So a lot of people don't realize the cultural divide that existed in Jewish society 2,000 years ago, and how that cultural divide still exists to a great extent in society today. So the Apostle Paul wrote that you have been saved by grace and not by faith. I say by faith, and it is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Because the low-class Jews, because of the difficulty of their lives, were not able to scrupulously abide by the law of Moses in the cleanliness and in the dietary laws. Oftentimes, they were very lucky if they can even find something to eat. The Habarim, the upper class Jews, also speculated that the reason why the chosen people of Israel had been conquered by Rome was that God was punishing Israel because of the unfaithfulness of the low class Jews, the Ami Ha'eretz. And one of the quotes that says, it is only because of the Ami Ha'eretz, the low class Jews, that God punishments enters the world. So the upper class Jews blamed the lower class Jews for Rome conquering Israel, the chosen land. So theoretically, Israel should not have ever been allowed to be conquered. So it's not surprising that the contempt of the Habarim was returned in kind by the low class Ami Ha'eretz, the people of the land. One rabbi said, the hatred of the Ami Ha'eretz for the learned class is greater than the hatred of the Gentiles against Israel, and the hatred of their wives exceeds theirs. So the Ami Ha'eretz hated the upper class Jews, and the upper class Jews hated the lower class Jews. And it says that even the wives of the low class Jews hated the upper class Jews even more than their husbands. So it's not surprising that the contempt of the Habarim was returned in kind by the low class Jews, the Ami Ha'eretz. One rabbi said, the hatred which ignoramuses have for a Torah scholar is greater than the hatred of the nations of the world have for the Jewish people. And the wives of the ignoramuses hate Torah scholars more than the ignoramuses themselves. It was taught in the Talmud that Tosefta, that one who studied Torah and left his studies hates Torah scholars more than all of them. So there was a divide in Jewish society 2,000 years ago. The upper class held the lower class in disdain and hated them, and the lower class Jews returned these sentiments with every fiber of their being. Rabbi Akiba was a rabbi 2,000 years ago. He said that Rabbi Akiba made the transition from a low-class Jew, and by studying and changing his lifestyle, he made the transition to an upper-class Jew, to the Habarim. So Rabbi Akiba said, when I was an Ami Ha'eretz, a low-class Jew, I used to say, I wish I had one of these scholars, and I would bite him like an ass. His disciples asked, you mean bite him like a dog? Rabbi Akiba replied, a dog's bite breaks the skin, and ass's bite breaks the bone. So this was the hatred of the Ami Ha'eretz, the low-class Jews, for the Habarim. I wish I could have shown this to you. So to make the transition to Jesus and how he was viewed, Jesus was a low-class Jew. Jesus and most of his followers were viewed as Ami Ha'eretz, the low-class Jews. Lower-class Jews who were considered to be untouchable. The low-class Jews, the Ami Ha'eretz, have been told their entire lives that God hated them and that they had no hope of ever going to heaven. Two of the quotes in Psalm 69, it says, add iniquity to their iniquity, and let that not come into thy righteousness. In Psalm 69 again, next verse, let them be blotted out of the book of the living and not be written in the righteous. So the upper class Jews believed that the low class Jews didn't even have a chance at an afterlife. So in Jewish eschatology, Olam Haba, or the world to come, is an important part of Jewish eschatology. Although Judaism concentrates on the importance of this world, the afterlife is known as Olam Haba, or Gan Eden, or the heavenly Garden of Eden. Any non-Jew who lives according to the 7 laws of Noah is regarded as a righteous Gentile and is assured of a place in the world to come, the final reward of the righteous. But Rabbi Eleazar, the upper class Jew, says, those who die outside Palestine will not live again. The Ami Ha'eretz will not live again. Whoever is slack about Torah will not live again. Whoever makes use of the light of Torah will revive after death. And whoever does not make use of the light of Torah will not revive. So basically what he's saying is that the low-caste Jews had no chance of heaven or an afterlife. So to make this more personal, to bring it down to an example, the Apostle Thomas, and actually most of Jesus' followers, were all low-class Jews. They were all Ami Ha'eretz. Jesus, of course, himself was a working class child. His father was a carpenter. His mother was pregnant before she was married. And they had 4 of their sons and at least 2 daughters. So there was at least 7 children in Jesus' family. So the Apostle Thomas himself was a low-class Jew, an Ami Ha'eretz. He had been told his entire life that God hated him and that he had no chance of ever going to heaven. So that's why Thomas was surprised when Jesus told him that there was a place of honor waiting for him in God's house in heaven. Of course, Thomas then wanted to know how to get to God's house. Jesus told him that he was the highway that would get him there. And the quote is, this is in John 14. Thomas asked Jesus, Lord, we don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way to heaven? And Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So this is the actual context of that verse that people today totally misunderstand what it's saying. What Jesus is doing is he's promising a low-class, outcast Jew that he is going to get him to heaven. the Pharisees, the Sadducees, none of the upper class Jews will ever even try to get a low class Jew to go to heaven. Jesus says, don't worry about it. I'll get you there. Again, in John 14, Thomas said unto him, Lord, we do not know where you go, and how can we know the way? Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. So in the original Greek, the word translated here as way is hodos, and hodos is literally a highway. So viewed this way, this statement was made to Thomas, who was a socially untouchable outcast, and was intended to include him and not to exclude him. And this is the actual original Greek, but wish I could have shown it. I don't think I'm going to cover that part. Yeah, maybe I will. So in the original Greek, the word hodos is a road, and Roman roads, the hodos, were built to allow two chariots to pass each other going in opposite directions. So when you see the Roman roads, the ruins of the Roman roads, they're designed for the water to drain off of them when it rains, and they're designed for chariots to pass them going in opposite directions. So Jesus promised Thomas that he and only he was going to get Thomas to heaven. And if you think about it, who else in Thomas's life could he rely on to get there? So viewed this way, the statement is inclusive and not exclusive. So were the Pharisees going to get Thomas into heaven? No. Were the Pharisees, the Sadducees going to get him into heaven? No. Jesus was the only one, the only way. So this is Jesus, I am the only way statement. He's telling Thomas that I'll get you into heaven, and it's going to be a place of honor. So this is what Jesus meant when he told Thomas that he was the highway to heaven. So the only problem is Thomas may not have realized that before he can go to heaven, he has to die first. I'm going to pause a little bit and have some conversation. It says that Jesus loved the low-class Ami Ha'eretz, and he criticized the upper-class Habarim. In Matthew 23, he says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. Jesus' other comments about the upper-class Jews, the Habarim, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. Again, they bind the heavy burdens of the grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you devour widows' houses, you shall receive the greater damnation. Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, you have omitted mercy and faith. That's Matthew 23. He continues, you blind guides which strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill you up then the measure of your fathers. You serpents, you generation of snakes, you kill and crucify, you scourge in your synagogues. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. That's in Matthew 23. So let's have a little conversation. What do you think of this so far? Did you know this story before, that there was a class distinction in Jewish society 2,000 years ago? The majority of the people were the low-class Jews who were viewed with contempt by the upper-class scholars, the wealthier, the ones with the easier lives. What other examples can you think of the upper class persecuting the lower class? So please unmute yourselves. Let's have a conversation.
Hasn't it been pretty universal throughout time and the world?
Yes, it's exactly the same circumstance right now. So when you see the various ethnic minorities today being persecuted, being murdered, being killed, it's pretty much exactly the same thing as it was 2,000 years ago. In fact, one of the first quotes was that it's an honorable thing to kill a low-class Jew. Other comments? Go ahead.
Today it is an honorable thing, it would appear, to kill Asians and Black people and Indians and anyone who isn't WASP.
Yes.
That's the way it is. So nothing's changed, apparently. We just sort of swap. But all through history, there has been a group that is considered less than the ruling group, and that it's okay to kill and maim.
And that's our purpose, is to show that that's no longer okay. Elizabeth, by the way, just lives just a few short miles from where the people were killed.
Oh, yeah.
Just literally down the street.
Yes.
Other comments? Everybody's muted. You can unmute yourself if you like, and let's have a conversation.
It shows the teachings of prophets, different religions, has not worked too much either. In their own way, they continue. Even Hindus, they had the same way.
Yeah. Well, in the story of Moses, when Moses was leading the people through the wilderness, anybody that did not abide by his teachings were killed. And that's kind of, that carried over. So Moses was, about 1,200 years before Jesus? And there were several times in the meantime where the Jewish people were conquered by foreign nations. And so to a certain extent, these teachings of Moses were lost, and they were forgotten. And by the time that Jesus was born, there was literally a polarized society of a low-class working class and an upper class, primarily scholars and priests. And the parallels between that and today are obvious. Other comments?
What shocks me is that how can you believe in God, which is only one God, one creator, and then not to love all his creation?
Yes.
Not to accept at least all his creation. You think he made mistakes.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Well, you can see that in the other world religions. It pretty much exists in all the other world religions. So that's one of the things that Baha'i is going to have to change.
Well, what shocked me was how they considered the lower class Jews less than animals.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, at least they didn't eat them, I guess. Anybody else? Matthew, Dorothy?
Going on to what Nazareth said, it is difficult to believe in a God who would allow such hatred. And the prophets coming down, I don't know that any has made even an inch of progress thus far in terms of unifying humanity that we know is the goal. But perhaps we'll get it right this time as Baha'is, but it's going to take all of us. What happened this summer with George Floyd was a horrible thing to have watched. I actually saw it happening on TV. Oh, it was the most awful thing. Not the most awful thing I've ever seen. I think the riot at the Capitol takes the cake above that. But what was wonderful was the outcry. That is not a thing that happens often. There were people from literally all over the world who were aghast by this, to actually have to see this kind of thing happen. And the man with his knee on the Black man's throat, cutting off his airway, despite him begging to be able to breathe, wouldn't get up. And there were other officers right there. They could have pulled him off, but they didn't, because of this attitude, this pervasive attitude in the United States that Black people are not real human. In fact, when you talk about in the beginning, our own constitution in the beginning only measured us as maybe a quarter of a human being, depending on how much white blood was also entwined, or 3/4. So, and that was for the purpose of the census. But they never, of course, we had no rights at all. We were slaves. And in a very big sense, we're still slaves, because we are the ones that are working in the nursing homes, taking care of the sick and diseased. We are the lower level of the people working in hospitals to help the hospitals stay open. We are the ones in restaurants serving food and preparing food. So, and all of that without a living wage. So to me, if you only give me enough money to half feed my children, to always be in debt to you, to always be worried about the roof over my head, that's slavery. I don't call it anything else. I can't. So I need to, as a Baha'i, to get beyond my own anger about the whole situation and figure a way to be open and receptive to divine guidance to help bring about this unity. And that's what we all have to do. We have to do our part. Because maybe this is really the day. That's my hope. So
It
thank you
helps.
for letting me blab.
It
Oh, thank
helps
you.
if
Thank
we
you.
see a little bit of positivity, and we need that help. And I really have been here many years. I see the changes. It's not enough, of course,
No.
but that seeing it gives me hope. Pray for more and look for more, search for more. It is going to come up, has to come up.
Elizabeth, you were talking earlier about religions apparently not being helping much, or being the cause for unity. And isn't that maybe why a lot of people are turning away from religion, because they do not see that it has done any good in the world?
Exactly. Exactly.
But along that line, I know that people have been turning away from God more and more in fairly recent years. I know, Joel, you had shown some statistics showing how people were less likely to identify as religious. And religion gives us a basis, a guidance for respecting other people and for showing us how to behave. And so I think that, part of what we're seeing is a reflection of that desertion from religion. And that with that desertion, we are seeing, more, I'm seeing a lot of barbarianism and, self-centeredness, greed, etc. That if society in general was adhering to these teachings and concepts of God, would not be as pervasive as they are right now. The other part of it is, I think I'm seeing where people who were sitting on the edge of crazy have been getting that push that sends them into a free fall of crazy. And it's going to take a lot to rein that in.
Down through the ages, religion has been used to oppress people, with apartheid, with, in the Manifest Destiny. All of these ideas are oppressing a people. And it's been used by those who want to retain power, who have greed, and so forth, to use these teachings of God to further oppress. And that has to change. And as Baha'is, I think that's one of the most important pieces is to see that and make that change and reinterpretation of the will of God.
Other comments? How much longer do we have? Okay, I'm going to end with.
You're muted, Hermione. You're muted.
Oh.
Hermione is speaking, but she's muted.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh.
I was saying you have until 12:15.
Okay.
For that, you would have additional time for questions and answers, even though you started it earlier.
Okay. So one of the quotes that I was going to end with was from Baha'u'llah. It says, "There can be no doubt whatever that the peoples of the world of whatever race or religion derive their inspiration from one heavenly source and are the subjects of one God." What's interesting in the Mediterranean basin and in Europe, when the Muslims conquered Constantinople finally, the Catholic Church decreed that any non-Christian in Africa was now slave material. And so that's why there was one of the reasons why there was such a mass deportation of Africans as slaves.
Oh my gosh.
Another quote, let me see. Abdu'l-Baha said that the diversity of the human family should be the cause of love and harmony, as it is in music, where many different notes blend together into the making of a perfect chord. So using the metaphor of music, he says that we need to all work together. And he said, if you meet those of a different race and color from yourself, do not mistrust them and withdraw yourself into your shell of conventionality, but rather be glad and show them kindness. Likewise, when you meet those whose opinions differ from your own, do not turn away your face from them. All are seeking truth, and there are many roads leading thereto. Truth has many aspects, but it remains always and forever one. Do not allow differences of opinion or diversity of thought to separate you from your fellow men or be the cause of dispute, hatred, and strife in your hearts. Rather, search diligently for the truth and make all men your friends. There is one God, mankind is one, the foundations of religion are one. Let us worship him and give praise for all his great prophets and messengers who have manifested his brightness and glory. We offer thanksgiving unto God in all circumstances and cherish the hope that he exalted be his glory made through his gracious providence. Guide all who dwell on earth towards that which is acceptable and pleasing unto him. That's Abdu'l-Baha in Paris Talks, page 53. What other comments do you have?
I like to say that another correction in the Baha'i faith is that the rich people that can give more to the faith, the church, are not more important, are not known, are not recognized, are not introduced. No matter how much we can give, you're in the same level spiritually on not really being named and famed.
Yes. And oftentimes the coin that was lost inside the hem of the person's robe was more important than all the other money that he collected. So what other comments did people have? Does anybody else here want to speak in the future?
I had a question for you.
Sure.
We know in the Baha'i writings, Baha'u'llah or Abdu'l-Baha alludes to Baha'u'llah singling out Black people for a role of the pupil of the eye.
Yes.
And I was wondering, is there anywhere in the Baha'i writings that you know where Baha'u'llah or Shoghi Effendi or Abdul Baha point out the significance or the role of Jewish people?
I'll open it to the group. What do you think? I'm trying to, there's a, of course, Baha'u'llah wrote letters to the kings and rulers of the world. And I don't remember the man's name, but there was a Jewish man. The Jews weren't quite as organized as the other groups, but there was a Jewish man who became the go-between between, was it Abdul Baha? And was it Rothschild? Rothschild was kind of viewed as the Jewish leader at the time. And I could send the story about this man out. This man had, I think he had a series of dreams. And in the dreams, he was led to Baha'u'llah. And he had absolutely no interest in being a Baha'i. But once he recognized the fulfillment of what he'd been shown in these dreams, he could not resist. So he became kind of the liaison to the Jewish community. And I can send out a link to his story. I don't remember his name at the moment. I can actually see his face, but so yes, Baha'u'llah did try to reach all the religious groups, all the various groups, and even the Jews. Of course, we kind of have to be a little bit cautious in Israel right now, and because we are literally their guests, but from what I've seen, we are their valued guests and their trusted guests. So at I think the most recent international convention, Baha'is were actually allowed to be part of the security. And the Jewish nation does not allow any other group to do that. So other comments, other ideas?
I have a comment. This is Barbara Taylor.
Hey, Barb.
Hi. When I was serving in Israel at the World Center, we always had this, I had this thought, and I don't know if it was someone else expressed it or you touched upon it with Rothschild, but I feel like the Jewish people were the chosen people, right? And they were chosen to protect the Baha'is. That went around a lot in my mind and with other people. Well, yeah, they're here to protect us. And they are protecting us, believe me.
Yes.
The World Center wouldn't be what it is today without the Jewish people. So just
there's a symbiotic relationship between the Baha'is and the state of Israel.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I have not read, but I have heard that the Baha'i faith has been said that Jews, because of they had their hands in crucifying the Jesus, for 2,000 years they were around the world wandering, but now they have been forgiven.
Yeah.
By the Baha'i faith. They can, many of them, were members of those who were Knights of Baha'u'llah. Many Jews there. And now they are accepted, respected. They are equal. We all make mistakes and God forgives. But we have to try not to make mistakes.
Well, I think we're out of time. Thank you for coming today. It's good to see my old friends in Wisconsin and formerly Illinois. And where are you again, Joe?
I'm in Finland.
Finland, okay.
I'm from Boston originally.
Okay. I've been corresponding with a woman from Ireland the last few days. Want to thank you for coming today. And
thank you for inviting. Yeah.
Excuse me, Joel. Excuse me, just before we go, I just have a quick question. This is Dorothy Johnson. I was just wondering, I know you teach comparative religion and you may do so for a specific organization, but I was wondering, do you offer those courses just open to anyone who may be interested in taking those courses? Because they have some really interesting ones.
Yes. I think I mentioned that last semester I had students in Nebraska, California, and Ireland participated in the class. So
Is there, can you send information on how one can
yes,
join future classes that you may have?
can you email me?
Mhm.
Actually, just do a search for prophecy-fulfilled.com. That's my webpage, and my email address is at the bottom. So prophecy-fulfilled.com. So yes, I would love to have you. In fact, as long as we're Zoom, anybody could teach in this class. So there is a woman who's teaching a class on, I think it's Greek mythology, and she lives in Nebraska. So it literally doesn't matter where you live anymore.
Right, thank you. I see now. I pulled it up. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joel, for that very enlightening presentation as before. Very happy that you were able to come and share with us today.
Maybe next time I can get the
Welcome
screen
all of
share
our
to work.
guests. No problem.
Yeah.
At this time, we'd like to welcome all of our guests to the Baha'i Unity Center Sunday morning devotional program. If this is your first, second, third, or next in a series of visits, feel free to share who you are, where you're from, and how you happen to be with us today. This includes Baha'is visiting from out of town and sojourners recently returned to the area. We'd love to hear from you. You can just unmute yourself and speak.
Good to see you,
Okay,
Sue and Jim. Good to see you, Judy, Scott.
Yeah. We met Joel when he lived in Wausau, and
That's
he taught
Wisconsin.
us. Yeah, that's Wisconsin. He taught us about the faith, and Judy was in the community at the same time, and we remember those days very fondly.
Well, and now Jim and Sue's children, many of them are Baha'is. So, and one lives in,
Yeah.
where's she live? Indonesia, Malaysia?
Honey lives in Malaysia.
Malaysia, yes.
She's a Baha'i, and their family's Baha'i. And Zeta lives in Denmark.
Oh,
She's a
wow.
Baha'i. Saffron lives in New Hampshire. She's married and she's a Baha'i. And her husband's a Baha'i. They met at Greenacre when she worked there. And well,
Great memories.
Damien lives with us still, and he's a Baha'i.
Okay.
He works nights. He's sleeping.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share anything about how they happen to be with us today?
Thank you for doing this.
Okay. And a few quick announcements before the program closes. Our upcoming speakers, well, next week we have Mr. Burton Smith who will be back sharing from his wealth of knowledge regarding, well, I don't know if he's going to speak on the same subject, so I won't say that. But details will come out within the week, so watch for those details. And be sure to stop in for more outstanding presentations. And please remember that the food distribution program is every Thursday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the Baha'i Unity Center in the parking lot. So kindly spread the word to help combat food insecurity within the community. And for members of the Baha'i faith, you are warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund and the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system. Or you can go to, you can send a check in the mail to the Baha'i Unity Center at 2370 Wesley Chapel Road, Decatur, Georgia, 300-35. At this time, we'd like to say many thanks to all those who work together to make today's program possible. Our speaker, our volunteer readers, Barbara Hennicks, who keeps us moving forward, the spiritual assemblies of South DeKalb, of the Baha'is of South DeKalb County and Sandy Springs. And thanks to all of you for, joining with us today and sharing your day with us. I'm Hermione Pickens. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, stay safe and well. We will end now with closing prayer for the departed. Matthew, would you be willing to read it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Glory be to thee, O Lord my God. Abase not him whom thou hast exalted through the power of thine everlasting sovereignty, and remove not far from thee him whom thou hast caused to enter the tabernacle of thine eternity. Wilt thou cast away, O my God, him whom thou hast overshadowed with thy lordship? And wilt thou turn away from thee, O my desire, him to whom thou hast been a refuge? Canst thou degrade him whom thou hast uplifted, or forget him whom thou didst enable to remember thee? Glorified, immensely glorified art thou. Thou art he who from everlasting hath been the king of the entire creation, and its prime mover. And thou wilt to everlasting remain the Lord of all created things, and their ordainer. Glorified art thou, O my God. If thou ceasest to be merciful unto thy servants, who then will show mercy unto them? And if thou refusest to succor thy loved ones, who is there that can succor them? Glorified, immeasurably glorified art thou. Thou art adorned in thy truth, and thee do we all verily worship. And thou art manifest in thy justice, and to thee do we all verily bear witness. Thou art in truth beloved in thy grace. No God is there but thee, the help in peril, the self-subsisting.
Thank you, Matthew. Friends, that's the end of our program. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully some of you can return again next week. Thank you. Allahu Akbar.